Welcome back, everybody. It's Nepkin here, and today we will be covering the first episode of Wake Up IF and CH. If you don't know what this series is about, you can check out my Wake Up IF and CH introduction video here. In this episode, we will cover the Neptunia and Friends app. But before we begin, there are actually two versions of this app, which is Mainichi Compile Heart that was released in Japan on May 26, 2017, and Neptunia and Friends on August 29, 2018. The difference between those apps is that the 2017 is in Japanese and only available in Japan or in co-op, while Neptunia and Friends is only available outside of Japan and it's in English. Despite both of these apps being from the same franchise, they are nowhere both as similar to each other in terms of development and treatment, as the Japanese version of the app has an overall better treatment compared to the English version, and that's where we are going to talk about in this video. So now let's begin. As I've mentioned in my introduction video of Wake Up IF and CH, Neptunia and Friends no doubt has a lot of problems, and the worst flaw that I discovered is from this app due to several reasons that I will be mentioning next. So first off, just to be clear with you, Neptunia and Friends is the English version of this app, which is the one that has the most problems, and is not really Mainichi Compile Heart, which is the Japanese version of the app. To begin with the problems in the app itself, ever since the app has been released, it has been left abandoned with no updates as of 2022. Before I go deeper into this, no updates does not necessarily mean bad in certain cases, but no updates has been a usual habit for Idea Factory and Compile Heart specifically, mostly on them, but it's still happening today. Well, as I mentioned before, not all games from them are in bad shape, but some games are in good shape, which is fine not to update them. But for games which are in bad shape, such as Cyber Dimension Neptunia 4 Goddesses Online, left abandoned right after its release is bad. Very bad, as that game has a lot of problems, especially with the multiplayer. If I'm honest with you, I couldn't really play that game that well either in general. I'm probably going to need a controller to play that game. So if you compare both Mainichi Compile Heart and Neptunia and Friends, the most obvious difference is that Mainichi Compile Heart has a lot more characters, including the 4 CPUs, CPU candidates, HDD forms with the exceptions of White Scissor and Iris Heart. It will also have IF, Cludia, Uzume, and even characters from outside the Neptunia franchise, which are Tiara from Fairy Fencer F, Lilia from Moro, Faust from Trillium, and a miscellaneous character who is Natsume Kaneki. And most recently, we have Big Nep on Mainichi Compile Heart. Meanwhile, in Neptunia and Friends, it is only restricted to the 4 CPUs and Purple Heart. So what's the problem with that? Well, it's the fact that only Japan gets more content and updates for the app compared to outside to the other parts of the world, mainly in the West, where there is a lot of fans. And still, we don't even get any updates at all. How ironic if you are watching this video in 2022. It's been 4 years and nothing has been updated for the Neptunia and Friends app. Now, let's get to the most unforgivable part of this flaw. Other than the fact that we don't get updates, this is one flaw that is so unforgivable that I was so annoyed at, and so was everyone else, which is the fact that Neptunia and Friends was only released on iOS and not available on Android. That's right, you heard me, not available on Android, which should be pretty obvious if you were searching for the app if you're using an Android operated phone, but you can't find it, or if you have watched Yellow Super Nintendo's video on Neptunia and Friends. What makes this flaw so unforgiving is because this literally feels like they didn't use their common sense. What I mean by that is not everyone uses iOS, and there are people who can't afford an Apple device because it is very expensive, and it could be as expensive in the thousands. Yikes! Like, I mean, come on. Mainichi Compile Heart is even available on Android, and why Neptunia and Friends isn't? As Apple devices are the only devices that iOS is available on, and many other mobile brands are operated on Android, which means Neptunia and Friends isn't very accessible. This is more than annoying, as this is a serious omission that would trigger many of us, especially for those who don't have access to an Apple device. Mobile games app are generally available for both iOS and Android, which means users of any device can access it, especially for those who can't afford much for an Apple device. I don't see any reason why Mainichi Compile Heart, Neptunia and Friends couldn't be available for Android, as I had mentioned before that Mainichi Compile Heart is available on Android devices. If you can't access Neptunia and Friends, or you don't want to install Neptunia and Friends, there is a way you can access Mainichi Compile Heart outside of Japan. You would just need to install BlueStacks, and you will need to go onto Co-op, then search up for Mainichi Compile Heart. After you install it, you can interact with characters you can't find in Neptunia and Friends, such as the CPU candidates, for example. Recently, this situation has gotten worse since June 2022, and it's not directly involved with the Neptunia and Friends app, but this is involved with the Mainichi Compile Heart app, where it has now blocked any non-Japanese credit cards for any payments within the app. Now, this is literally crossing the line where fans had already received a poor level of treatment of the app and wanted to have the Mainichi Compile Heart alternative to purchase new outfits and characters from them. Now, that's gone. The Neptunia and Friends app problem is a pretty serious issue I have discovered in the franchise in terms of treatment, which has already become worse. IDM Factory and Compile Heart have taken this situation in a bad direction since then. This is an example of how seriously bad Neptunia fans were treated by the developers. I'm not necessarily saying it is because of the treatment received in the app resulted in lower popularity of the franchise. It's literally how our fans have been treated like this for years. This situation hasn't even gone in the direction by an inch. Honestly, if this type of treatment they give to fans, not only Neptunia and Friends app, but to any other games, I can hardly see the popularity rising anytime soon for the franchise. And even if it rises, how much would it rise though? And how long would it take to lose their popularity again because of the treatment? And Neptunia and Friends, or Neptunia franchise in general, are mostly games. So, is this even a joke to us? I mean, the treatment received by those in Japan is better than here in the West, despite having a lot more fans here.
And you give me this?
To come to a conclusion with this video, just because I was ranting a lot about Neptunia and Friends today doesn't mean I dislike the app. I like the app because I can use it to set up my alarm clock and play with the characters if I'm bored. It's just that this part of the franchise is so unforgivable, and why they really have a lot of things to work on. Let's just hope they can solve the issues in the right direction, which suits the interests for both of us. But since this is how they work, I can hardly see that happening anytime soon. Anyways, I will be creating part 2 of this episode, which is my own recommendation of how they should solve this problem. Like, there will be few ways of how they can do it. If you have any recommendations you would like me to share on my next video, please comment below. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and to share this channel and videos to others. And anyways, have a nice day, everybody. Goodbye.